Maybe you're a competent designer, but you're often asked to design bathroom layouts, back of house programs, and less exciting part of the building, but what you really want to be doing is more conceptual design. Or you might be a young designer just starting out your career and wants to start off on the right foot in a design-driven office. Perhaps get noticed for your design chops from the years of training and be cultivated into a design principal someday. Or you simply want to be more proficient through ideation, iterate faster, and produce beautiful sketches that will make your peers salivate. If any of these desires resonate with you, drawing well might be a good solution. Hi, it's Henry Gao here, and welcome back to my channel. I am a San Francisco-based architectural designer working at the intersection of architecture, illustration, and photography. In this video, I want to share with you 3 reflections I've had on how I improved my hand drawing over the past 10 years and what kind of impact that has led in my career. A little context first. I think it's kind of challenging for the new generation of architects coming out of school where cultivating hand drawing is less of a priority than 10 to 20 years ago. Instead, students are almost trained to be like computer wizards, fluent with the latest 3D software, parametric tools, and rendering softwares. So even the best design school like Cornell, where I went for graduate school, I saw students were already designing in Rhino as soon as their second semester of undergrad. I wouldn't be surprised if many of them don't know what a drafting board or a parallel ruler looks like. For comparison, my undergraduate degree in Canada, I hand drew all my studio projects for the 3-year out of my 4-year program and only used computer-aided software like Photoshop, SketchUp, and AutoCAD in my final year, which is supposed to prepare me for the professional environment that I was entering into, but I still ended up like smashing my head against the wall learning Revit at work. So I'm just a little concerned that there's a whole generation of designers coming out of school nowadays who are maybe relying too much on computer software as their ideation tool and runs the risk of being outdated someday. For example, my undergraduate taught a program called Form Z, which was kind of like Rhino, but have you heard of it? While Rhino is cool right now, I bet it will be replaced by something even better. Think Tony Stark's with his assistant Jarvis.
All this on the Stark Industries central database.
I actually don't know who to trust right now. Till further notice, why don't we just keep everything on my private server? I don't want this winding up in the wrong hands.
I think this leads to an interesting question. Who cares about which tool to design if the end product looks good, right? Well, at this point, what you might not realize is you're still entering into a work environment where it's still very likely that the design principle comes from a generation of design with pencil and pens and understands the value of sketching. They are in their position because they have this ability to communicate design quickly by hand, so it's very key that they can do this fast and handle gazillion other tasks not related to design, which might shock you. I don't think you'll ever see a design principal spending their days in Rhino. If you want to be recognized fast, there's no better way to get on someone's radar than with good hand drawings. This was my experience at least, though it wasn't by intention or strategy. Call it luck or not, but I was often invited to participate in design charrettes where ideation was more important than working out layouts. Sometimes I have very little clue about specific needs or what parameters I was working with, but the design partner wanted to use my sketches as a way to collect concept and interpret ideas. In my current office, I would be known as a dude who is really good at making shit up and getting things built. We even made a poster to memorialize it. Without further ado, here are 3 things I've done to improve my architectural drawings over time. First, if you're lucky, find a mentor to take you under their wings at work. You might not be a very experienced sketcher yet, but might have other desirable assets like rendering or InDesign skills that a design principal might want to work with you more. Take notes. This time to observe is really valuable because not only do you see how someone draws, you also start to understand why they draw the way they do. I had this opportunity when I worked for a solo practitioner as an intern in Amsterdam and saw his process and style of drawing, which was more cartoony than how I currently draw. But what I got out of that experience was the realization of how powerful drawings can be. For him, a 15-minute sketch beats a 3D model any day and conveys so much more life and motion. So after my internship, I stole his style and adopted it in my graduate school years at Cornell. To my surprise, no professor ever said to me, "Could you draw a little less and model more please?" I remember one professor after a quiz asked me where I learned to draw like that. I didn't fully connect the dots and credit this experience in Amsterdam, but now I do, thanks to Burton Henfeld. A second way to improve is to supplement your learning with other resources. If you are looking, I highly recommend picking up a copy of Francis Ching's book, Design Drawing. This is the all-in-one book that covers everything from tool selection, graphic techniques, and drawing theories. I will leave a link below. Grab this before anything else. So how do you practically fit all this in your crazy schedule? Well, being a new dad, I'm gonna give you some tough love before I use it on my own baby. The reality is, if you want to be good, you have to practice. Malcolm Gladwell famously coined the 10,000 hour rule, which says, if you aim for expert level, you have to spend 10,000 hours of practice. Now, this sounds like an outrageous amount of time. The good news is, 10,000 hours is actually an overkill for most architects, where they just want to be competent enough where they can convey ideas and thoughts on paper without looking cringy. You don't need to get to a point where you become an artist and people want to buy your sketches. Although that is what I do, I was able to monetize this aspect of my skill set where my travel sketches are being sold worldwide on Etsy. If you want a copy, they are available in black and white prints and a very unique gold foil variation. I'll leave a link in below. Lastly, I think it's also very helpful to find a style you like. There's a famous saying, lesser artists borrow, great artists steal. This could be Francis Ching's style or somebody else's style on Pinterest that you love. I highly recommend that you learn to copy first and develop your own style afterwards. The benefits to copying first is to train your eye to be observant. I believe as architects we really have this meta skill to analyze everything around us, from a menu layout to a car design, which sometimes can feel like a curse. If you find your drawing doesn't look like the person you're copying, try to understand why. Once you figured out why, you can practice just those things until your style looks exactly alike. For example, I did this myself when I was learning to draw trees. What I'm preaching is not a formula for overnight success, but with practice, you're more likely to enjoy the process of design and have an easier time to pursue a design-oriented career. So invest in this skill early on and will pay huge dividend in your career. I can already attest this as a young designer, as I've had many opportunities to design and participate in design discussions and charrettes that were not offered to my peers. So thank you for tuning in again. If you liked the video and the content, make sure you subscribe and let me know what else you would like me to cover in the future.